Welcome back to my series on the 5 pillars that we absolutely have to address in order to lose weight with PCOS and keep it off. I am integrative nutrition health coach, certified personal trainer, and Kundalini yoga teacher, Katie Lott, and I am very excited to talk with you about my second pillar today, and that is hormonal alignment. Now, in the last video, we talked about insulin, and insulin is in fact a hormone as well. And it can play along with some of the hormones that we're going to talk about today, specifically testosterone and cortisol. So we are going to dive into all things hormones. So if you've had PCOS for a while, you are probably aware that it messes with your hormones. And specifically, especially with PCOS, we are talking about androgens like testosterone. So when we look at PCOS, a lot of women, most women with PCOS are suffering from excess androgens. Again, that means things like testosterone. So what happens when you have these excess androgens floating around in your body are pretty much the classic symptoms of PCOS. So I'm talking about, obviously, weight gain is the big one, but also when you have hair on your face, your chest, your stomach, or thick hair on your arms, that could be a sign of high androgens. Also, irregular cycles is another huge symptom that comes along with PCOS, and that is also due to testosterone. Same thing with acne, oily scalp, low libido. All of these things are because of excess androgens. So if you are someone who is suffering from those symptoms, then we definitely need to work on hormonal alignment with you. Now, excess androgens are the big ones when it comes to hormones and PCOS, but we also talked about insulin in the other video, and insulin can actually affect testosterone as well as cortisol. So let's dive into that for a second. So when you are insulin resistant, if your blood sugar is not balanced, you're producing that extra insulin, well, that extra insulin can actually tell your ovaries to produce more testosterone, which in turn makes all of those symptoms we just talked about even worse. So that's one big reason to balance your blood sugar, is because that excess insulin can actually play off of the other hormones in your body, one of which is testosterone. The other big hormone that we want to talk about in relation to both insulin resistance and PCOS is cortisol. Now, cortisol is your main stress hormone. And one of the things that insulin can do, if you are insulin resistant, it can actually increase your cortisol levels, making you feel more stressed. And if you have high cortisol levels, that can actually increase insulin resistance. So it's very important that we work on both of those hormones. Otherwise, you can get stuck in this endless cycle of feeling stressed, getting cravings, not sleeping, all of those things that we don't want, and of course, weight gain. So when it comes to cortisol, we really want to make sure that we are keeping our cortisol levels low, not just because of insulin resistance, but also cortisol on its own. Elevated cortisol levels over time can cause inflammation. They can also cause cravings, especially for salty or sweet foods. They can make it hard to sleep because you have these racing thoughts. It can make it feel like you're exhausted throughout the day, and it can cause weight gain, especially in your midsection. So we definitely want to make sure we are working on cortisol. And unfortunately, a lot of women with PCOS are dealing with not so great stress responses. They're dealing with anxiety and depression, and all of those things have to do with cortisol. So it's really important with PCOS, especially when we're looking to lose weight, is to manage our stress. And that is definitely something that we work on in my program, and we'll be talking about in one of the later videos as well. And then the last big hormonal combo that we want to look at when it comes to weight loss and PCOS is progesterone and estrogen. Now, what can happen a lot of times in PCOS is low progesterone, and that can contribute to the irregular periods and the infertility and a couple other big issues with PCOS. But the other thing that can happen with low progesterone is it can create relative estrogen dominance. Now, we know that estrogen is the female hormone, But so the interesting thing about estrogen is that you can have two types of estrogen dominance. One where you just have too much estrogen in your system, and the other is where you don't have enough progesterone to balance your estrogen. And that can happen a lot with women with PCOS, is they have that lower progesterone. So it's important to balance those hormones as well. Otherwise, you'll have that relative estrogen dominance, and that can bring on things like PMS, heavy and painful periods when you have them, tender breasts, bloating, headaches, low libido, brain fog, just a lot of not fun stuff. So really important that we're working to balance our progesterone and estrogen levels, our cortisol levels, our androgen levels, and of course our blood sugar and our insulin levels. So here are 3 great tips when we're working to move into a state of hormonal alignment. One, you want to make sure you're avoiding food sensitivities. Now, I'm not talking about allergies or intolerances where you eat them, you either break out in a rash, or you have to run to the toilet, or you have an allergic reaction where your throat clogs up. So sensitivities are milder things, and sometimes they're harder to notice because they'll affect more subtle things like our mood, our joints, or they'll cause inflammation. And that is a big reason that we want to avoid food sensitivities when it comes to moving into a place of hormonal alignment. Now, in my program, the Empowered Woman's Weight Loss Method, I really work with my clients to avoid these big groups of food like dairy, gluten, sugar, because those are very common ones that people have sensitivities to. They just don't realize it, but also working to make sure that it is individualized, because people have sensitivities to all sorts of different things, and it can be kind of hard to identify if you don't know what you're looking for. Next up, you really want to focus on gut and liver health as well, because the health of your gut and your liver are crucial when it comes to making sure your hormones are balanced, because your liver and your gut are huge when it comes to hormone, or your gut is huge when it comes to hormone production, and your liver is huge when it comes to detoxification and getting rid of hormones that have done their job. They're ready to go. And the final tip I have in terms of hormonal alignment is not over exercising. And this is also a big one when it comes to women with PCOS, because a lot of times we're told to eat less and exercise more. And unfortunately, we don't see results with that. But instead of being told, hey, that's not the right method, maybe we should try something else, without that guidance, you just start to think, this is my fault, I just need to exercise more and more and more. So these women actually end up over exercising. And what that does is it puts a lot of stress on your body. It depletes your energy sources. And that's not what we want when we're looking for optimal hormone health. So I hope you found this video really helpful. If you are looking for more help when it comes to balancing your hormones, moving into a place of hormonal alignment, looking for more information on how to do that, then I want you to click the button with this video and book a call with me so we can talk about what's going on with you, your style of PCOS, the underlying causes like hormonal alignment, and then talk about how I can support you in overcoming that.